Hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors auctionaddict.com, raceforce.co.uk and triathlonbox.co.uk. And here is the wonderful Helen Murray. Hey Hels.
Hey Rob, how's it going?
I am absolutely wonderful. I'm sitting here with slightly battered legs after a 2.25 hour run with Rushy today.
Oh, where did you go?
Well, you cover a lot of ground in 2.25 hours, don't you?
Well, you do with
Pretty
someone
much,
who can run pretty
much
quickly.
around all of Cheshire, yeah.
Was it?
It was good. We ran and we chatted and we walked every 10 minutes, and he was very kind to me and didn't break me into small pieces like he was easily capable of doing.
Did you go up any hills?
No.
No, okay. Keeping
No.
it flat for the time being.
Yeah. It was nice. It was old school. It was, hey man, do you fancy a run? And I'll be around in half an hour. And it was really good.
Oh,
Good to catch up with him. I've not seen him for a while. And it's good to have a partner to train with, isn't it?
definitely. And you know what? You mentioned a partner to train with. Rob, you treated me to another date in the conservatory with the turbo and my husband.
Do you know, I wasn't sure. I thought I'd actually seen you out on the bike yesterday.
No.
As I was riding around the lanes, I saw somebody who was the spitting image of you in like a black and white and pink cap under the helmet. And I thought, that's Helen. And obviously we'd gone in different directions. Probably now in retrospect, a good idea that I didn't turn around and chase after this poor girl, thinking it was you. So you did 90 minutes on the turbo in the conservatory.
Yeah. With my husband next to me on the turbo.
Your little thing, isn't it, you two? Hot Saturday morning, literally hot Saturday morning date.
Yeah. Oh God. And the weird thing was yesterday we were both doing different sets. So I don't know. Rich's was more of a recovery set, whereas mine felt like you were trying to kill me.
Absolutely.
So it was quite funny. So suddenly you'd notice him like slowing up, because obviously he was then having, I don't know, like an easier minute or two. And there's me going like...
Think of it like this. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to kill the dreams of anybody who's trying to race you at Ironman UK.
Oh, God. Yeah. Anyway, it was good.
Yeah,
I got through it. Got through it.
Well done, mate.
And that was the second turbo in 2 days. So Fridays was just... Oh, that was even worse. And... I said,
Helen, stop moaning. It's there for a job. You're doing it to kill everybody else, right? It's doing its job. Are you getting faster?
Am I? God knows. I don't know.
Yes, you are. So stop whining. I'm having no truck with any of this today.
All right. Yeah, but I do quite... I have a love-hate relationship with the turbo. I quite liked it once I got going. It was great.
Oh, that's good news.
You just sweat it out. It was fine. Katy Perry is my preferred album of choice at the moment. I don't know if I should.
I like a bit of Katy Perry. Yeah,
honestly.
No, I'm feeling it, mate. Yeah, she's all right for the turbo, isn't she?
Brilliant for the turbo. So yeah, Katy Perry, and then you're sorted.
Top tips here. We should probably talk about some triathlon stuff, really, shouldn't we?
I think.
Right. Come on then. News from this week. News sponsored by. No, hang on, not news. Race results first up, sponsored by raceforce.co.uk. There's been lots of good stuff, hasn't there, recently going on in the world of racing?
Absolutely, and the big one this weekend was actually on Friday, wasn't it? And it was Dubai 70.3. Now I happen to be
say that again.
Dubai.
Ding dang Dubai.
Dubai.
How is it that you can pronounce all of the Spanish names in the world and all the French names in the world with perfect fluency? Yet when it comes to the easy word Dubai, you pronounce it as though you were born in Bolton.
I think my brother used to live in Qatar, and they used to call it Dubai, and I don't know if that was to do with the rugby.
It's stuck.
To do with the rugby sevens. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there you
alcohol
go.
fuel
Right.
pronunciation of Dubai. Anyway, shut up, Helen. So Friday morning, I happened to be on an early shift at work, and
So you did no work and you had the live feed running, did you? I do hope your boss isn't listening.
no, I did do work because it's impossible to not do work with the job I actually do.
Yeah.
So I did do work, but I might have had it on as well. Yeah. I'll admit to that.
That's what I like to hear. Good for you.
And what was
the coverage like? I didn't see it. What was the live coverage?
It was so male dominated. Which is,
Usual.
yeah, exactly, usual.
Was it like they only had one camera?
Yes. So then
Is that
they
why?
focused on a lot of the age groupers after Jan Frodeno and the pros had kind of come through transition and gone off for the run. Then you didn't see them again until the finish line. So they just focused on everyone coming through this one camera. Yeah.
I'd have thought it'd have been a bit more lively than that. You'd have thought they'd go out on the run with them. At the very least, the motorbike could have turned around and gone back for the ladies and come back again, right?
Oh, well, I didn't spot that. There was none of that going on.
I did read a bit of this on Twitter actually, that it was the usual.
Yeah.
Come on, Iron Man, raise the game a little bit here, eh?
Absolutely, because we had Daniela Riff, who had the most amazing season last year, just continuing absolutely where she left off and completely and utterly dominating. And I should also say Jan Frodeno, exactly the same. Dominated, didn't he? And dominated in Kona and dominated here. And it was really impressive performances by them both. So Jan Frodeno won the men's race in 3:34. The swim was shortened, wasn't it, actually? Down to 1.2k because of really, really high winds.
Yeah, I had a couple of guys racing out there and they were emailing me going, there's breaking surf. What's going on? So it was shortened to 600 meters and the pros did 2 laps and the age groupers did 1 lap and then they had to do like a big run to get back to transition apparently. So it was like totally super windy.
Yep.
35, 40k an hour winds. And so riding in the desert, they were saying it was, wind was being whipped up and there's a lot of those kind of overpasses on the bikes, the big sort of, not bridges exactly, but raised bits, and they were getting blown all over the road. And they didn't have a completely fun time of it.
No, I can imagine that would have been pretty hard work. And given that it is the desert, I mean, a lot of sand flying everywhere as well, which would, that would be really annoying.
Pretty unpleasant.
I did see a few pros questioning why the swim for them wasn't the normal distance, because if they're going to do 2 laps, well then why can't they just do a third? Which is a fair point.
It's a good point actually. Yeah, maybe I don't know. It's one of those tricky calls, isn't it? They don't want to lose somebody in the water. I think if you're a race organizer, that's your big worry. You think the pros can handle it, but
if they're going to go into the same lap twice, I think that was their point. Well, if they've done the same bit of water 2 times,
you're right.
Yeah, why not do it a third? But who knows? That was an Ironman decision, obviously. So Jan Frodeno won the men's race 3:34 ahead of Josh Amberger in 3:41. But
so that's hang on before we skirt past this. That's a 7-minute win in a half Ironman.
Exactly.
That's a domination, isn't it?
Yes.
Fastest swim, bike and run splits.
Yeah.
Just.
He did it,
and you've got to think like it's barely the end of January as well.
Exactly.
So no one's in shape at this point, supposedly.
Apart from Jan Frodeno.
Well, he just said he just kind of cruised the run in 1:13, didn't he? So as you do, knock out a quick 1:13 half Ironman. So sorry, you were saying Josh Amberger in second.
Yep. And then Bart
Aeronauts and Terenzo had a sprint out apparently for third.
Yeah, they did.
Second to separating them out. Bart Aeronauts took the win there, so he's obviously raised his game with the swimming a little bit, hasn't he, and ridden back up there. Yeah. Good to see our old pal Nick Baldwin in 6th place there. That's a really good result for him. 3:49.
Yeah.
So he's really only 4 minutes off the podium there. That's a brilliant result for him.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Nice one, Nick. Well done. Listen back, listeners. If you're not listening to Nick's interview, he's a quality athlete. Go back in the archives and have a nosy around to last year for Nick Baldwin.
He had an unlucky season last year, didn't he? Just did not go his way. So brilliant to see him back. And I think he's built on. He had a good result the other week, didn't he, Rob?
Can't remember.
I think he did. Anyway, keep it up, Nick. That's what we want to.
Yeah,
that's what we want to see.
Done.
On the women's side, then it was won by Daniela Riff in 4:01. She finished ahead of Caroline Steffen in 4:05, and she actually had a sprint finish with Kaisa Leitonen of Finland, and there was 2 seconds between them at the very end. So that was the women's podium. Brilliant race there for second and third.
You got to be happy with winning the sprint at 37 years old, haven't you?
Totally.
beating a youngster. And Kareen Abraham there in 7th as well.
Yep, brilliant.
4:19, so possibly not the race she was hoping for, but it's good to see she's put a solid performance on the board. I wonder if her injury problems have kind of taken a back seat now and she's getting back into the swing of things.
You hope so, don't you?
You do.
Definitely.
We've got to try and schedule a call with her when I get back, actually. We tried to make things work over Christmas and your computer broke down on us. Computer said no. So we'll try and get an interview with her and see how she felt about that race.
That would be really
That'd
cool.
Be good.
That would be brilliant. And then elsewhere, Rob, our interviewee of a couple of weeks ago, Lionel Sanders, who was telling us all about training indoors and just his amazing story. Honestly, one of the best interviews I think that we've done so far. Go back and listen to it if you haven't heard it. Lionel Sanders, delighted that he took the win in Panama.
Yeah, what a guy. And that is, I mean, if people haven't seen this, get this for a set of splits. 24:30 on the swim for Lionel. So he's come out of the water about 2
minutes down.
2.5 minutes down.
Yep.
So he's obviously raised his game with his swimming. So that's a good swim for him. 1:55 on the bike.
That's amazing, isn't it?
So if you think that, what's the 40k an hour barrier? Is that 2:10?
I don't know.
2:15, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 2:15 is 40k an hour. Oh my god, that's beyond mental.
It's just insane, isn't it? So we had the fastest bike split by 2 minutes. So
it must be like two and a quarter back to back 51-minute 40k's.
Oh my! I can't even, honestly, Rob, I can't even imagine it.
Maybe even a little bit faster than that, actually.
And you know what? He can probably go even faster. I mean, a few things. This is January. This is still, I'd say he's still sort of developing as an athlete, isn't he?
Yeah.
This is not the fastest that we have seen him.
And he's run 1:14.40 off that to put a 3:38 together. And that's a legit course as well. This is, tell you what, wouldn't it be fun to call up? Keep talking. You do the girls' results, and I've got an idea here.
Okay, fine. So that was the so second place was Anthony Coste of France, who finished in 3:41, and then third went to Tim Reed of Australia in 3:44. Richie Cunningham was sixth. Matt Hansen of the US was eighth, and then on the female side of things, I will bring that up. Right now, it was Sarah Haskins who took the win of the USA ahead of Lisa Roberts of the USA, and then Sarah Haskins finished in 4:08, Lisa Roberts in 4:10, and then Heather Lendway was third in just a few seconds after that. So that was the women's. Didi Griesbauer was racing, Rob. She was 10th female pro. Liz Lyles was there. Lauren Goss, Lauren Brandon. And a really, really pleasing result was Lindsay Corbin, who finished in 4:12. I think it was her first race back after really, really struggling with injury last year. So she didn't go to Kona to race. It was like the first time in about a number of years that she hadn't actually raced at Kona, and she went there volunteering, I think. So brilliant to see her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really good to see her.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So
right, so here's a little bit of context. I just had a little flash of inspiration, and I remember back in 2012 when a young man called Lance Armstrong made his comeback into triathlon.
Yeah.
And this was the race. Panama was the race he did as his first 70.3, and everybody said he was going to get crushed.
Okay.
And he ended up swimming with the front pack, riding away from everyone, and running really strong and getting caught with a couple of miles to go by Bevan Doherty and finished second overall. And everybody suddenly went, all right, he's a serious contender for Kona. Right. Lance's bike split on that same course was 2:10.
Sure. Okay, I reckon it'd be a different course.
Well, it's got to be, surely, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
Because I'm mind blown. I'm totally mind blown by that.
Whatever, it's a ridiculously fast time by Lionel Sanders.
It is ridiculously fast, isn't it?
Yeah, 1:55.
Yeah, I'm looking through the results. I see there's a lot of boys peppered around the 2 hours 2 mark on this course. Yeah. So they must have changed it. But even so, he's put himself 3 or 4 minutes clear of everybody on the bike there. So Lionel, we salute you, sir. That is a fantastic. I wish we could have interviewed him just after this because man,
We'll have to catch up with him another time. But Rob, one thing is, so he wins there in 3:38, and Daniela Riff, who won at Dubai, both of them have been training purely indoors.
yeah, that's it.
So
We've been saying all along. I think people are going to start listening to the idea the turbo trainer is not wasted time. I've got a mate who is from a cycling background, and every time he finds some kind of quote about turbo trainers being rubbish, he posts it to me as if to say, "You've got to stop wasting your time, mate, and get outside and do the hard miles." And I'm like, no, I really believe that it's making me fitter and faster.
yeah, it's honestly, I think it's brilliant to see, though, isn't it? Because if you do live in a country like the UK, where quite often in the winter it is difficult to get outside, then you can take inspiration from these kind of things and think, God, they must be suffering even more than we do because they clearly push themselves more than we do.
Well, I think you've just got to structure your session right. You've got to have a really clear goal for it. And I think if you're going to get on the turbo trainer and just kind of think I'm just going to do an hour on the turbo, yes, it's going to be miserable and it's going to feel pointless. But if you've got a structured session and then if you've got a block of structured sessions that you're following that have got a purpose to them and you can see results every time.
And you've got Katy Perry in the background.
And you've got Katy Perry safely playing the knowledge you're not going to get run into from behind by some idiot on a car, then happy days, right?
Yeah. Yep. I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
I think so.
For sure.
I mean, we were saying
power numbers I've seen on the bike on the turbo were the only thing that let me think, right, I can enter Triathlon X. Because if it was just I'd poodled around on the bike all winter, I'd have no idea where I was and no numbers to measure off. Yeah. So, telling you now, kids, get that turbo out, dust it off if you're not using it, and get on it.
Brill. Now, Rob.
Right, next race. Where are we going to in the world next, Hells?
Let's go to Israman.
Let's go to Israman. So there were two races on here. We had the full Ironman distance and the 70.3 distance race, and a little bit of British interest in both races here. Let's start with the full race.
Yep.
And our friend of the show, Howell Davis, recently turned super coach, took third place in the men's iron distance race there. And we'll come back to this, but he coaches Alice Hector now, and she won the ladies 70.3. So cracking set of results for them early season.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Overall results, Bart Kandel took the win in 9:46, Petr Vavricek was 9:57, and Howell was third in 10 minutes flat.
10 minutes?
The women's,
10 minutes?
10 hours flat, yeah. Catch. Antonia Reznikov in 10:59, just snuck under the 11 hours, won the women's. Vanessa Pereira of Portugal in 11:31, and Imbar Zaiva of Israel in 12:02. Now let's go back to Howell. If you're into this stuff, go and find Howell's blog, because the man must have been typing as he sat with his recovery tights on after the race. Put a fantastic race blog together. Swimming's never been his strong point, but he came out of the water only 2 minutes down on the lead men, so he swam a 55, so that's blooming good swimming, regardless of whether the course is long or short. To be only 2 minutes down on athletes of that quality, he's obviously put the work in over the winter. He then went out on the bike, and his description of it is just, it sounds brutal, Hells. It's endless short sharp hills, one road out through the desert, and it's just impossible not to spike the power.
Yeah.
And Hal's been struggling with a bit of run injuries anyway, and he's not been on the bike too much, so he suffered some serious undercarriage chafage going on there on the way back on the bike. Got himself off the bike, I think, in fifth, ran himself into third, and I think, from memory, I think he was 12 minutes off second at the start of the run.
Wow.
And ran himself really hard to get to 2 minutes down at the finish line, so serious impressive performance by him.
That's fantastic.
Now, he's also a fan of the old peanut butter.
Yep.
You're glad to know.
Yeah, love this.
And he wrote, now whether this is totally true or not, he wrote that he did the whole thing on peanut butter. Didn't take any carbs in at all in the whole race. It was water and peanut butter for the whole race.
So peanut butter, just as, how would he have actually consumed it?
I've got no idea.
How will let us know? How did you consume your peanut butter?
Yeah.
We are
How do you do
intrigued.
that in a
Was
race?
it like further liquidized or something? And in a oh god, that makes me, the idea of it makes me want to be a little bit sick. But was it almost like a,
Maybe you just take a bite of it
yeah,
somehow.
either a bite, so you sort of
He's sponsored by,
Merid,
is it Whole
yeah, yeah,
Earth?
yeah, yeah.
Sponsored by Whole Earth, and I've got to be honest, I can eat that stuff from the jar with a spoon.
A bit
It's
harder though if you're going up a brutal 20K
hard
climb.
on the
Yeah,
bike, yeah.
to get it out of a
I hope to
jar.
take it in on the bike.
Exactly. Is it in your drinks bottle and it's sort of more of a liquefied form or something?
What?
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Oh,
It makes
that
me
doesn't sound
no.
good.
So Hal,
And I'm
let
just
us know.
imagining like warm peanut butter in the middle of the desert.
Oh, vile.
Ooh, ooh.
Um,
Yeah, we gotta find this out, haven't we?
yes, that would be marvelous. But fantastic, really, really brilliant results for the two of them. And I remember last year we were talking about this race, and if you Google it, just some of the photos make it look absolutely stunning. So you've got like the Jordan Mountains, and oh, it just looks really, really tough,
Yeah,
but wonderful. And it says here that the run is brutal and punishing. And Alice was saying that she had done a lot of downhill run repeats to prepare for it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. There's not an ounce of flat on the whole course, is there?
no, no.
Um,
So just have a Google of it, and yeah,
well, I tell you what. If people are interested, if they go to slowtwitch.com, they've got a brilliant gallery of photos by a guy called Larry Rosa, and it really gives you a feel for it. I think it was really cold. It was like 2 degrees when they got out of the water, so the water temperature was 22,
oh,
and the air temperature was 2. So they got out and it was freezing, and everyone's in like arm warmers, leg warmers, extra cycling jackets, and then they had a fairly cruisy, pleasant marathon
wow,
in the mid 60s.
that's nice. That's yeah,
A bit chilly.
yeah. But what definitely want to go and look up, and just I guess quite a unique sort of run. And Alice again says that everyone is so friendly, and it's just got a really brilliant atmosphere to it. So I guess if you are looking for a little bit of a different race, a bit of
Shall we get ourselves in shape early season next year, Hels, and go to
no,
Israel
I've got to get
in
through this
January?
season first, and then I might think about next season.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So let's come back to that one, Rob. We'll talk about that another time. Rob, quick word on Challenge Melbourne, but especially the women's race there. Ellie Salthouse won in 4:11, Natalie Van Corverden in 4:15, and then Carrie Lester in 4:19. Both Yvonne van Vlerken and Annabelle Luxford were they didn't finish it actually, so that was
Okay.
down in Australia, Challenge Melbourne.
Todd Skipworth, Per Bittner, and Leon Griffin took the men's race top 3. And I'm going to give a shout out to an old pal of mine, Roger Witts Barnes, who's moved down to Australia now. I trained with him a couple of times when he was at Manchester Tri Club, and he's finished 15th overall.
Brilliant.
Which isn't too shabby, is it? Second in the male, 30 to 34 in 4:15. So good to see you still in shape. Roger was multiple European and world champion of the Olympic distance, and had easily the biggest pair of calves you've ever seen on a skinny human being. He had calves like my quads, man. He'd be riding up, anytime the road went uphill, he would just ride away from you as if he was on a moped.
Yeah, I know someone else with rather big calves.
Are we going to go into this on air?
Well, yeah, no, but they are big calves.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So then if I'm on my bike and someone else is on their bike quite close to me, I think, well, no, your calves are about 4 times the size of mine.
We should call him the Calves from now on,
The
shouldn't we?
calves.
That can be his nickname. The Calves.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Right.
Anyway, that
okay.
was race results brought to you by Race Force. And
Let's give them a little bit of love, shall we?
absolutely, yeah. Let's give.
What have they got going on? Connect with Team Raceforce at a UK event. Their race hosts will be at all the Extra Mile series this year. They always aim high races, so if you're doing Slate Man or Snowdonia Man, and F2 events as well, the Poseidon and the Rubicon. So if listeners are thinking about signing up but they're not sure, why not pop in, get your bike checked over by one of their mechanics and have a chat with Kate. I'll warn you though, she'll convince you into going on one of her little race trips with her, because she's such a friendly, fun person, isn't she?
Yeah.
She giggle. And they're also doing some training days, and they're doing sort of course recce's and things like that this year as well. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, I'm
Stuff.
going on northern. Any of that
Dubai.
stuff, Dubai, you can check Raceforce out at raceforce.co.uk.
Brilliant. So why don't we bring you next? Coach's Couch, brought to you by oxygenaddict.com, teamoxygenaddict.com. Rob, what is it this week then?
Well, we've had a question from the old Simon Derham here about how he should structure his training week, which is quite a nice one really for this kind of year. It's that sort of I'm starting to put my training together for an Ironman later in the year, and I don't really know what I'm doing. How do I put the plan together so it makes most sense? And in the past, he says he's kind of just trained by feel and ended up feeling really knackered all the time. And so are there any ways around that? So I figure that's quite a good question to go with, actually, because I think a lot of people start off with that kind of mindset of I'll just, do the training that I can fit in.
Yep.
And end up absolutely gubbed after 4 to 6 weeks, don't they?
Yeah.
So I thought what I'd do, I'd talk through the structure that I've put together for the team who are training for Ironman, and maybe it'll help people out. And hands up here, this is not my original idea at all. I've been reading around this a little bit, and some of the stuff that came out of the Matt Dixon interview really made me sit up and think. And what I've done is I've structured our week in a similar way that Matt does. I've started doing a block of 3 days and a block of 2 days separated by a day of either easy training or recovery training or rest days, basically. Mm-hmm. So instead of looking at it like a 7-day week, it's like a 3-day block, an easy day, a 2-day block, and then an easy day. And for a lot of people, I think it makes sense to have that 2-day block be the weekend, because obviously you can go out and you can do your big endurance day on one of those weekend days. But I don't suppose technically it actually has to. If you're a flexible working type person, that 2-day block could really be anywhere. Mm-hmm. So if we look at the 2-day block first, you pick one day as your key endurance day. And let's say that's going to be the Saturday. That's when you're going to do your long ride. And later on in the season, you might be adding a run off the bike. And also you might be adding a swim before the bike if you've got the time and the fitness to do that. So that's kind of your key day there. And then the day after becomes like a moderate, shorter paced run in the morning. It's not your long run. That's really important. It's not your long run on the Sunday. I separate it out so that the long run goes on the Thursday if your endurance day is on the Saturday. So you end up with a day's recovery between the long run. And if you are still a bit tired, well, you're biking on tired legs rather than running on tired legs. Yep. Okay, so your long run goes on the Thursday, and it's a bit hard to do that this time of year, but you don't really need to be doing a long run at the moment. As the nights get lighter and you get more towards the season, you can knock out a couple of hours after work and it's not such a drama, right?
I remember you used to put me down for a long run on a Thursday because I had about 4 hours to kill in the afternoons before a Portuguese class, and I was like, I could do my long run that day. So, that used to be my long run, and it worked fine.
It's great. I think it works really well, and it means that you get that recovery day after the long run, and you come to the Saturday, and if you are still a little bit sore and tired, well, training your bike with sore and tired legs isn't actually that bad an idea. It's pretty good training in itself, right?
Yeah.
Then the other 2 days of the 3-day block, if we're structuring Saturday as a long day, we've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We've said Thursday is the long run. Tuesday's going to be your kind of quality bike intervals. Wednesday's going to be your key swim of the week. And then everything else can kind of fit in and around that, really. But if you get that done as your core part of the week, then everything else is kind of cruisy. You make sure you have a really easy day on Friday. That can either be a swim or a bike or both. You have a really easy day on the Monday, which can either be really easy recovery swim, skills based, or really easy spin on the bike. And then you can look at where to pop in some extra runs based around the other things that you've got going on that week. So you might do a run with the turbo on Tuesday. You might also do a run with the swim on the Wednesday. You probably won't do a run with your big long run on the Thursday as well. But you can fit those extra things in there depending on how you feel and view them as kind of supporting workouts to the key workouts, as it were. So and they're the ones that you cut if you're absolutely knackered.
And in there, have you got like a harder run, so like an interval run? Have we got that in there? So where would you put that?
I tend to not put an interval run in for athletes that I'm not coaching face to face.
Okay.
because my feeling is if you're gonna do anybody any damage,
Yep.
coach them remotely, it's going to be by making them run hard unsupervised. So if I've got athletes face to face at my track session, I can see if they're working a bit hard, and I can certainly over a period of weeks and months get a feel that they know how I want them running in their hard sessions.
Hmm.
If you give somebody a kind of an interval run session and you're not supervising them, they could easily go and totally beast themselves and kind of fall apart. So yeah, that isn't part of the program I'm setting for this team kind of training thing at the moment, but it is something that I think is very relevant for athletes who've got multiple years in the sport and are looking to do maybe a single sport focus for a while, or they're looking to raise the running as part of it. But I do think it's the interval run is the first thing to disregard if you are struggling with this. As Simon says, I'm struggling with overtiredness. I'm not bouncing back from my sessions. Well, the first thing I'm going to say is cut the interval running, make all of your running kind of supporting easy pace, those Jack Daniels e-pace runs.
Yep.
And then, if anything, the effect they're having on your body is you're just getting used to the pounding that your legs are taking during the run. You're not trying to get cardiovascularly fit by doing them because you've already got your interval turbo session on the bike, your long run, your long hard bike, and the run on the Sunday to do that with. So that can just kind of support that by making your body stronger.
Fantastic. So Monday would be like an easy day. Tuesday, you'd have your quality bike plus possibly a run.
Yeah.
Wednesday, you're going to have your key swim in there. And again, potentially a run. Thursday is going to be a long run.
Yeah.
Friday, you're going to have easy. Saturday, you're going to have
easy stuff.
Yeah. Saturday,
Swim
you're going to have
bike.
your long bike. And then Sunday,
Sunday's sort of an extra run day, or sometimes it'll be an extra bike day as well, depending on what an athlete's limiter is. But something else I've encouraged people to think of is Saturday. Let's call it your key endurance day.
Yep.
Because if you get stuck in this idea of just going out for a long bike ride, well, you're missing out on the fact that what you can actually do is you could sometimes swim for an hour or an hour and a half and then ride for 3 hours and then run for 30 minutes. And that's a beautiful endurance day in there. And it breaks up the monotony of just, I think sometimes you can kind of go, right, I have to do a long bike ride every Saturday for the rest of my life and kind of drive yourself mental that day. So that isn't necessarily always needing to be the case.
Okay, now I have one question here.
Sure.
We haven't mentioned in our how to structure our week, we haven't mentioned the key word, rest day.
Well, we kind of look at it, instead of a rest day, we look at it at recovery.
Okay.
So that the purpose of a rest day is to recover.
Yep.
So if we call it a recovery day, what we can say is, if you do need a complete day off a week, and I know a lot of athletes do, that's your Monday session. It's
fine.
It's after that big weekend.
Yep.
And instead of it being a recovery swim, you just don't do anything and you have a total day off.
There we go. There we go.
And then the Friday becomes another recovery focused day.
Yep.
And again, if you are going to ride, you're doing it in the small ring. It's really, really easy. You can do speed skills work with spin ups at high cadence at low force. Your body will then improve its ability to ride a bike without you necessarily causing it any training stress, if you see what I mean.
Fantastic. I get it. I think that seems like a good week, Rob.
There we go. I've got all kind of, I made like a little, I was inspired by you and your new graphics that you've been making. I made like a coloured block for the week and shaded them in different colours according to how much training stress was on that day. It's all really zowie.
Did it was it like a GCSE revision notebook?
It was very much like that in the way that it took up most of the time I had to do some work by colouring in the blocks different colours and not actually getting the work done. You know me so well, don't you?
We've all been there. Yeah. I used to spend
absolutely.
a lot of my time with different colour pens. But hey ho.
I have to admit that now Xander's getting into colouring, I do spend a lot of time colouring things in with him, and it's very therapeutic. Honestly, you're laughing at this, but have you heard of this adult colouring?
I have actually. And surely this is
meant to be good for meditation.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Well, isn't this why they do like
colouring Peppa Pig in, and it's very good for the soul and very relaxing.
Isn't this why they do paint by numbers for adults as well? You can get.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hells, that's us. So I'm going to factor that in on the Monday recovery day.
Paint by numbers or colouring
Painting
in.
by numbers
Colouring in day.
Look.
I love it. Oh.
We're laughing now, Helen. It could make us millionaires.
Oh, good God. Rob, should we move on to someone who probably is going to be making a millionaire shortly?
Yeah.
Our interview of the week this week. It's a good one you've got lined up.
It is, yeah. We've got an interview now with a chap called Eric Min. Eric's the CEO of Zwift, and I couldn't quite believe we got him on, to be perfectly honest. Um, he's the guy. He's the guy behind the business plan behind Zwift, the online training turbo trainer platform, which we'll go into in the interview, so I won't go over it all again here. But just suffice to say, we are not sponsored by them. We're not getting any kickback for saying this, but I think it is the best thing since sliced bread. And if you've not been on there yet, I think it's £8 a month. Get on there for a month's trial and have a go if you've got some turbo training to do. It's such good fun. He'll tell you all about it in this interview now, so we'll hand you straight over to Eric Min. Eric, thank you very much for joining us on the Cup of Triathlon podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, mate. It's a real great opportunity to have you on. The listeners to the show are no stranger to listening to me rabbit on about doing turbo sessions on Zwift. So it's brilliant to have you on. So listen, let's get started by sort of introducing yourself and tell people a little bit about your role within the company and how the company came about, really.
Well, this project I started it for selfish reasons because I've been living in London for 12 years and I'm a long-time cyclist and struggle to ride outdoors just because the roads aren't that friendly. So I've been riding indoors for a few years now, consuming all the products that are available, and it just dawned on me that it's just not entertaining, given like the advances in video game technology and social media and fitness app. I was actually shocked that the basic technology for indoor cyclists hasn't changed or innovated in the last 20 years. So I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if we can make a product that would keep all of us very entertained for 20, 30 minutes, actually. And it was, I was exiting my last business and I built trading systems in my previous career. So I was planning to do something new, and I thought, you know what, I should probably find out from others if they would find some sort of tool or application that could keep them entertained for their indoor riding. And it turned out that there are actually quite a number of people who have the same issues, and I went around and spoke to the industry about my proposition was to them, what if we could keep more of their customers on the bike throughout the year? Because cycling itself is a very seasonal activity.
It certainly is in the UK at the moment.
Right. I mean, for most places, even in California, it's seasonal because you lose daylight, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so, of course, why wouldn't you want to keep your customers on the bike more, throughout the year round? It's good for business, and they don't, customers don't churn to other sports. So we thought, okay, wow, if we can get the support of the industry, then I think we can get this thing launched and get a lot of, leverage the marketing and the social media reach that they can bring to us. So that was sort of the idea, and I'd say after 2 years, it's starting to prove that it works.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no question that I think the most important thing with it is it's really good fun. You get on there and it's an hour can go by in the click of the fingers if you get caught up in a head-to-head with somebody that you're riding around with. And that's true, I think, whether you're in one of the races that are sprung up, or it's true even if you're doing a workout on your own and somebody sees you go by them a bit harder, and just like in real life, somebody jumps on your wheel and then comes past you, and you both end up pushing each other on. And I think that's the real aspect of it, is knowing it's a real person sitting somewhere else in the world.
That's right. It's we think we have pretty very, very nice graphics. But it's not even about that. It's just knowing that when you show up, there are real people around the world. They could all be dressed up as monkeys, right? But it's the fact that it's all real time. There's no concept of recording with Zwift, and I think that makes it real. I think people show up every day for a variety of reasons, but the one thing they do expect is to see real people.
Yeah. Yeah. And something I've been really amazed at is it's just the level of community engagement that seems to have happened naturally in Facebook and different websites springing up about, driven by the community members who want to have a way to all meet up to ride together or even all to meet up to race together. Has that been something that's surprised you how quickly that's happened?
Well, so I'm not your typical video game consumer, but apparently this is a common thing. But, if you look at the Facebook groups that have sprung up over the last couple of years, we only have one or two Facebook pages. There are over 60 that have been created. That was as of like
Oh,
two
wow.
weeks ago. So, pockets of communities around the world are creating Facebook pages in their local language to support their own community, and that has led to so many group rides, and there are resources that the community is creating outside of what we have to offer in our product, which is great. The communities, they seem to be a step or two ahead of our product development, which is great, right? Because they're telling us what the demand is, and then it's
Yeah.
helping us to shape our product roadmap.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. And one of the things I've loved is that when you log back in and all of a sudden you see a new group of people who are wearing a new jersey, and you think, where's that come from? There's some teams down from Australia, aren't there? Some clubs have got
Yeah.
their own club jersey as part of that, and that's created a desire within me to go. Where's the function where you create your own jersey? I want my little team wearing, my tri club wearing their jerseys in there.
So we've worked with a number of clubs. I mean, the wait list for custom kit is a mile long, and I
I
feel
bet it
I
is.
feel
Yeah.
guilty because we can't offer it to everyone. So our priority is we offer it to our partners because they're helping us to promote our product to their audience. Then
Yeah.
we've targeted clubs for the most part by size. So we've picked the largest club in the UK and US, and with some exceptions. But there's so much demand for it, and we put a temporary suspension on creating kits because we need to now focus on expanding Watopia, creating more courses that will have, that's what will benefit the community more than a custom kit for this club versus that club. Although
Sure.
that's obviously that's fun. Cycling is a very tribal sport. It's a badge of honor wearing your club kit, and I totally get that. And we want to be there to offer these jerseys, and I think we'll have to come back to that program.
Sure. Well, listen, that leads me on really to a next question, which is you've obviously just expanded the original course around the island, and you've got the kind of loop that goes in the tunnel under the sea, which is very cool. And I've noticed there's a road sign on the left there that says, coming soon, the mountain route. Can we ask you what's in the pipeline course-wise coming up?
So people have asked us since we launched our beta product, they want Alpe d'Huez or Ventoux or some of these iconic climbs,
Yeah.
and so did I. But our John Mayfield, head of gaming, he always questions like, do you really want to go up those climbs for an hour or an hour and a half? And you have to think about that. I'm not sure you would. So
Mm.
we decided, let's definitely build our first climb. It's probably going to be about 700 meters tall, which is pretty tall. I mean, it might take
Mm.
someone 40 minutes to get up it. But we'll make it really interesting, all the way up. So the design is underway, and we expect that to have, to be out in production over the next, I'd say within the next 6 weeks. It should be out.
Oh, as soon as that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly want it sooner.
Good
um,
man.
but I think once that extension is there, you could do one whole lap, and I think it'll probably take you an hour to do a whole lap
Yeah.
with that mountain. And
Yeah.
it's probably not something you want to do every day, but we need to have that in our toolkit, right?
Sure, yeah. So we've got three options really at the moment in Zwift. We go in and we ride on our own and we just have fun and we go around the course and it becomes like a kind of social ride. Then there's the next level, which is sort of the workout mode where we go in and we say, right, the purpose of this 30, 40 minutes, 60 minutes in Zwift is now I am going to do a workout that's been set by my coach. And as a coach, that's the feature that was released, and I just went, this is awesome, because all of a sudden it ties in my ability to send my workouts to my athletes through Training Peaks, but also then they can go into Zwift and do these workouts in Zwift, and the percentage of their FTP appears on the screen. It tells them if they're not going hard enough or too hard. You've got those little flags that pop up over the road to say this is where the interval starts and where the interval finishes. That's a really great training tool that takes it sort of a right turn away from just the social gaming aspect and makes it a really useful training tool, I think.
No, absolutely. We thought we could reimagine the whole training experience using animation, and I think what you're seeing there, we're still calling a beta product, the training module.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot we can still do, and we'll come back to enhancing that. But what we want to do is just the idea of creating custom workouts is fairly easy. You can create a custom workout like within a minute. It's so fast. And what we've done is created a small text file that you can then share. So you can create these workouts for your athletes and then email the actual workout in a small text file, which they then can just drop into the workout folder on their machine. It'll just pop up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is brilliant, because that's going to be my next question.
Well,
That's
I
fantastic.
tell you, the community has also created converters. So a number of our I've been a long time Trainer Road user,
Yeah.
and a number of our customers are also Trainer Road users, or were. And one of the customers created a tool to take Trainer Road workouts and convert them into Zwift workouts, and then you can drop them in. So there are already thousands of workouts that have been converted.
Brilliant stuff.
And the other,
that's great.
The other thing you can do, we're about to launch the partnership with Training Peaks. So you will be able to finish a ride and upload to both Strava and Training Peaks at the same time.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really good news, man. That's really good. And it ties in really nicely for me because I've just launched a kind of an online team of athletes that I coach in addition to the guys I coach one-to-one. And that's one of the things I'm really keen to try and do, is see if we can get the guys together in a virtual environment, because there's people all around the world in this team. And it's like, let's meet up at Tuesday at 8 o'clock GMT. And, you could go for a social ride. We can do a hard lap of the course. Or how fantastic would it be to have the guys who are doing the same workout on the same day doing it alongside other people and egging each other on. I think that's just got fantastic possibilities that's going to take training in the virtual environment, make it even more useful than, trying to meet up with your mates at the local cafe.
No, absolutely. You know Andrew Starkowitz.
Yeah.
So he's on Zwift. He and his wife are on Zwift. And I asked him last year, I said, why don't we organize some time trials, and you can invite your fans to do a time trial with you. And he said, time trials? I want to do crits and road races, the stuff that I can't do in the real world. And I think he's looking at it the right way. I mean, Zwift is about doing stuff that you can't very easily do in the real world.
Yeah.
And that includes participating in events like the Tuesday Night Worlds, or whatever events the community is creating.
Yeah. Do you know, I was on one night and ended up in a group with a pro triathlete called Matt Schrabeau, and I was texting it, is that Matt Schrabeau, the pro triathlete? And he's like, yep. and I was like, I can't believe this. This is fantastic. And sure enough, we got to the climb, and he dropped everyone at like 6.5 watts a kilo. Everyone's going, we can't keep the wheel. And he's like, I'm sorry, my workout's over in 5 minutes. I'll see you guys later.
That's great. I mean, so this goes back to another point. Where can you interact with a celebrity or a professional athlete in it's
Yeah,
like real time with real time engagement?
yeah,
I
totally.
think you pick any sports that we're in, and so we haven't made a lot of noise about that aspect, but it definitely is the case. I mean, I bump into. I mean, yesterday I saw a little clip of Michael Kwiatkowski, who's a former world champion on the road, uh,
Yeah.
and he had the KOM, and people are like, "Is that the real Michael Kwiatkowski?" And so that makes it fun. Having celebrities and professionals show up, and Bosun Hagen was on there. I don't know if you know these
Yeah,
cyclists.
yeah.
He was
I've ridden with him a couple of
Yeah, so
times
he was
too.
on there this morning, and tooling around. It's just there's a lot of sightseeing, spotting of celebrities and
Yeah.
pro athletes. So it's fun. They add to the whole experience.
Now, the other cool thing that's happening is these community-driven races where people effectively just sort of say, "Look, we're gonna show up at the start line. The gun's gonna go at exactly 8 o'clock or whenever, and it's on. If you get dropped, it's too bad, and if you're in the group, then fantastic." And I think that this is, another aspect of the Zwift that perhaps has grown up through community-driven kind of aspects. Have you got plans in the making to make that kind of slightly more accessible in terms of being able to join a race that's about to start and having a corral point and things like that?
So that's been widely uh, discussed on forums. So that is what we're targeting. It's just weeks away. Um, and the concept of when you log in will tell you the events that are about to start, and
Oh,
then we'll
brilliant.
hold you in a place where you can gather around with others, and there'll be a countdown. So there'll be a controlled start to events, which
Excellent.
should make it easier. And I think what's going to happen eventually is that'll be the the beginnings of us building out a race module. And racing is a sensitive topic because unless we can feel confident about the results and the calibration that the user is using to define
Mm,
the performance. Until we nail that down, we're a little bit concerned about really promoting racing, from our headquarters. I think
yeah.
if the community wants to run races, that's fantastic, and we'll give them the tools. But for us to endorse it, we need to feel like we've got all the bases covered.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a headache for you actually. And I certainly approach it at the moment from a point of view of I'm going on when there's a race on and I might want to do an FTP test at the same time
Yeah.
and just use the people around me to really drive me on. And I'm not lying, man. The last time I went and did this, I put 22 watts on my FTP 6 weeks earlier, and I'm sure it was down to the fact that I was not getting dropped by that lead group. You
It's
know?
all in the mind, right?
Oh man, I can't hit those numbers in real life though. That's the problem.
Well, it's no, it's true. So we do capture your FTP during any ride. So it's a useful tool to have. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. When we rolled out the workout tool back in November, in the first couple weeks, we had 5,000 people, over 5,000 people do their FTP test, which is
Wow.
unheard of, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. And it shows people are, maybe if they're coming to cycling from a slightly less coached scientific point of view, that aspect is kind of lifting them on, and it's a user-friendly way to get into training with power. If they haven't got a power meter on the bike, the virtual power kind of takes care of that for them. And it's getting people into seeing the benefit of training with a certain range of numbers and watching that certain range of numbers improve and knowing that you're getting fitter. I think it's all great.
no, absolutely. I think people are now feeling more comfortable with power and what it means. People don't talk about speed on Zwift, if you noticed.
Mm,
Speed is irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's about, what are my watts and what are my watts per kilogram.
And it's great you can ride next to a person who it might be a 45 kilo lady putting out the same watts per kilo as you are, and you're doing the same speed
Oh,
in the virtual game. Whereas in the real world, it's obviously much harder for two
yeah.
people of very different builds to ride together and get the same kind of workout. So I think that's really where the absolute benefit is. It's going to be great. I'd love to see, I'm going to throw this into you now. I'd love to see FTP neutralized races. So my 100% is your 100%.
Yeah, so well, I think that's all doable. But in the real world, the
Yeah, you're going to get dropped by a stronger rider, so
well,
you got to expect it
the
to happen.
bigger the bigger on the flats, the bigger riders with more watts and possibly with less watts per kilogram could still drop the small guys.
Yeah,
You know, and so that kind of stuff we haven't dialed in perfectly yet. And we Zwift is a slightly different experience than the real world. And I think the sooner that people accept that, the easier it is.
yeah,
We
totally.
can't.
You're not trying to
We're
replicate the
not.
outside
We've
world.
done enough of that, I think, but it will never be exactly like the real world.
Yeah,
And so, people, particularly those guys who do a lot of racing, and they're very sensitive to how Zwift might simulate drafting or
yeah, sure.
etc. But we're never going to be able to dial that in perfectly.
Yeah, and it's almost that accepting the range of variables that happen within Zwift, and this is how it is, and go forward and have fun in a slightly different way than you would do racing outdoors.
Yeah, I mean, look, even when you race outdoors, the guy with a 14-pound bike is going to perform different than the guy with the 20-pound bike.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's always going to be something, right?
exactly, it's never going to be a level playing field.
So something I'm interested in here, and obviously you mentioned it a little bit to me before we came on air, is this idea that does Swift just have to be cycling? Are you happy to talk about that on air?
Sure. We
Excellent.
looked at other sports. In fact, we prototyped running early on, but we thought that given what we're doing, the sweet spot for the first vertical was cycling. We can bring
Yeah,
different products into the game. We can get support from the industry. We could be a media channel for our partners. So that I think has worked out as we had imagined, and I think the opportunity to move to running is still there. The timing is, we're just not certain about the timing, but it doesn't have to stop with running. It could cross country skiing is another possibility. Rowing. I mean, there are a million Concept 2 rowing machines out there, and our community, and including us, and we've got that working. So those Concept 2 machines already
yeah,
produce watts.
that would be fantastic, right?
Yeah, so
Because
like
that's
so
they
imagine
are the most boring machine in the gym.
so imagine this. Right? Imagine we could render real time the Oxford Cambridge race, along the Thames
Yeah,
River. All right,
yeah,
we could render them in real time, and then we can have virtual teams that show up in the game alongside the real boats. I mean, that would be exciting.
yeah.
So all these things are possible. We need to stay focused on cycling, get that right, and then the opportunities to go to other verticals, or we know already exist.
Yeah,
And by the
yeah.
way,
Well,
there's no reason why all of these activities can't coexist on the same map. So why shouldn't you see runners go by? Or if you're passing, the harbor, why couldn't you see rowers, in the water? Or as you go up the mountain climb, why couldn't you see cross country skiers in their trails?
yeah. It sounds like an exciting place to work. I'm loving this. There's so much cool stuff going on. What a great place to work, man. That's brilliant. So listen, let's we're heading towards the end of the interview now. Let's start to wrap it up. If guys haven't been and girls haven't been on Zwift yet, it really couldn't be simpler, could it? You go to Zwift, you create a log on, and the pricing at the moment is £8 a month in the UK and $10 in the
And
US.
worldwide, the rest of the world.
and worldwide as well. So we've got a platform here where potentially we could organise a Cup of Tri podcast meetup, get everybody at the start banner at 8 o'clock one night and see who shows up, right?
No, absolutely, and that's already taking shape. The one thing that I would definitely like to share with you today is the announcement that we made in Adelaide, Australia.
Yeah, now this is really exciting news, isn't
Yeah.
it? I think this is going to take the crossover from Zwift into the real world. Tell us a little bit about this announcement.
Yeah, and so I've been pushing this internally for the last year and a half, and it was pretty exciting to hear a partner propose the idea back to us. But the women's team that we work with is the new Canyon SRAM Rafa team. They're UCR, professional team, and they have, I believe, they have a dozen of the top women riders. And last year, this team, under different sponsor, won the team time trial, world championship team time trial. So they're very, very, a very, very good time trialists and a top team. And so the idea is for us to work together to identify top talent, a top female talent on Zwift, starting, and it's I think a 7 or 8 month competition where we open it up to the broadest, base of riders on Zwift and give them an opportunity to win a professional contract on that team for 2017.
No way.
So this is, think of X Factor, think of Britain's Got Talent, think of, in fact, there's another, this concept exists in the driving game, GT Academy, if you're a video gamer.
Okay.
Where they've been doing it for 7 years, and last year they had 700,000 contestants qualify, and they take a dozen of the top gamers in Gran Turismo, bring them to Silverstone, and throw them in real cars and identify one person who they think they can train, and then put them on a professional team within a year. And they've been successfully turning out professional drivers who are going out and placing and winning races. So we know this works. We know this concept works in other sports. So we thought, this could work very much. It could work even better on Zwift,
Yeah.
because cycling.
What a fantastic idea!
It's an endurance sport. You need the engine, and I think Zwift can, very efficiently identify talent from all over the world. And you don't need a very you don't need to spend a lot of money to put yourself out there and see how you measure against other riders around the world. I think this could be the beginning of how lots of professional teams find talent.
Yeah, absolutely. So is the idea basically you'll go through the power files of the ladies who want to be eligible, and effectively they're going to have a race off at some point and the winner takes all, or how's that going to work?
So we haven't completely sorted out exactly how the qualification will work, but it's going to be about using the workout mode, doing group rides, and at the end of the day, what we need to know is, does this individual have a good engine? And then we'll take a number of riders, and they'll have to go outside. They have to be a proper cyclist, and it's the person who has the package, right? The total package would be someone who has a good engine, physical, genetic capabilities, someone who has the drive, someone who has bike handling skills, someone who has the bike racing tactical sense.
Yeah.
So it's all of those, and then of course the final thing is like, would you want that person as your teammate, right? So all those things
right.
you have to have the whole package. You can't, just by being the fastest rider will not guarantee a spot on the team in 2017.
But what a great opportunity for people to potentially put the name on the board to be selected from, right? People all over the world have got access to this, and all they need is a bike, a trainer, and internet access.
Yeah, and I think we're going to rely on coaches around the world to identify talent. I mean, if you know an athlete who might have the capability, who might have the drive, who might find this interesting, why wouldn't you tell your athlete about this program?
Yeah. Yeah, you said it, and it's at the end of the day, the way to get a pro contract, it's so far beyond what anybody can imagine in the real world, isn't it? Outside of a very small number of people who are racing in a very specific setup, all of a sudden this is going to give people a chance at least to get a foot in the door and potentially get noticed.
Exactly.
And the rest is up to them, right?
Just like X Factor, just like Britain's Got Talent, these winners come out of nowhere. But it is the most efficient way to identify talent, because it is very inefficient to get a professional contract. The way the existing system is very inefficient and very expensive.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. So if there's any females out there listening at the moment, this could be your big chance. Start working now, because who knows, you might be on the Canyon SRAM team very shortly, right?
Exactly. I think we hope to make someone's dream come true in 2017.
That's brilliant. Hey, well, listen, Eric, thank you ever so much for taking the time to come on the show and joining us. It's been fascinating talking to you. And as I said, I genuinely am a massive fan of your product. I was one of the beta testers. I'm always banging on about it on here. And if anybody hasn't been on Zwift yet, just get on there, get yourself the free trial. And, it's the best way to get yourself fit, I believe, in the winter and stay motivated when it can be difficult to ride outdoors.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob, for having me. And thanks for being such a long time, user of Zwift.
Oh, listen, it's been a pleasure. And I hope we can get you back on in another year's time and talk about the developments that have happened and the next things that are coming up.
Excellent. Great.
All right. Thanks very much.
Okay. Bye.
So, Hells, I'm seeing you and Rich in the front room with a big TV in front of you. Instead of side by side just mindlessly cranking out the miles, you could race each other online.
We could do. Yet to get Rob, you know how slow I've been in makeup of anything technical. It's taken me a year to get a decent quality pair of headphones, only because you sent them to me. And it's also taken me, when did I get the computer? December. 2 months to figure out how to record something. So I'm yet to get onto Zwift, and by the time I get onto Zwift,
it could not be easier.
But I don't.
You just click on Zwift.com, create an account, and start riding your bike.
But don't I need like some sort of dongle, dangle, whatever, and connect it to my computer?
It's the same dongle that you use to upload your Garmin, like the little Ant Plus dongle.
That's the thing, I don't have that. My Garmin is retro that I don't have it.
Okay, so you go to Amazon.com and you type in Ant Plus dongle, and they're about 20 quid.
Yeah, it needs to go on my birthday list, doesn't it?
Yeah, honestly, anyone who hasn't got an Ant Plus dongle, just get yourself one and get on there.
Yeah. Do you need a power meter or anything like that?
Well, this is the really cool thing. You don't need one. If you've got one, it makes it more accurate. But what they've done is they've modeled all the different turbo trainers out there. So you just tell it, my turbo trainer is the such and such a model.
Yeah.
And it goes, okay, happy days. And you do some kind of spin down thing and it's all good. And it just estimates power for you.
Okay.
So it's not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
But if you go faster, your little woman on the screen will go faster. And if you slow down, you'll slow down.
Oh, that's quite cool. But, really stupid question. I told you I'm stupidly, technically, challenged. I get my Ant dongle thing, and you plug that into your laptop, but then do I need some sort of sensor thing on the bike?
Sensor thing on the bike?
Well, to pick up, how I'm actually moving.
Right, yeah, so...
This is where my problem is. I don't have a power meter. I don't have a flashy...
Well, that's not a problem. You just buy one. Have you got a speed and cadence sensor?
This is the problem.
With your Garmin?
No.
All right, so just buy one of them. They're 20 quid. You buy one of them, you buy a dongle. Bob's your uncle. Rich will have one. Borrow it off him.
He hasn't got any. He hasn't either. Come on, all I have is my iPhone with Katy Perry on it. That's what gets me through it too.
All right, well, here we go. We'll hand it over to the community. I bet there's loads of people out there listening who've got a spare Ant Plus Garmin thing that they don't even use anymore because they've upgraded. Nikki's got my old one. You can get it off her.
Right, that's it. Sorted. Okay, fine.
There you go. Borrow it from Nikki. She's doing nothing but running at the moment anyway, isn't she?
Okay, so I'm sorted. Right, well, okay, here is my promise, another promise here. Before July, I will have been on to Zwift.
You know what, mate? It's going to get light in another 4 weeks. If you don't do it now, you're not doing it until October.
No, I swear, there's my promise.
Let's set it as a target, right, for October or November. Unless we can convince the CEO of Zwift to make a cup of try kit that you can unlock within the game, all right? Then you have to get on there.
Okay, fine. No, I promise I will be on there. I will have had a go before July. There's my promise.
All right, there we go.
Fantastic. I do love the fact, though, Rob, that they are going to be looking for a pro rider, a pro women's rider via Zwift.
Cool,
I think that is absolutely awesome. And it is true. You don't know, who is out there.
Yeah, you don't know whether, you pick someone like Rebecca Romero, right? Never ridden a bike in her life, gets stuck on it because she's fed up of rowing. She's massively powerful, and they teach her the skills of riding. The same thing could easily happen with loads of people who've never done this. They get on a bike on Zwift, they have a go. It turns out they've got loads of power to put out. Great.
Yeah.
Go and learn to ride a bike and get the bike skills, and you might have discovered that you're genetically very, very talented at this.
Exactly. Honestly, I think it's a really, really cool way to actually engage another market as well. So I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's really good. Is that your phone pinging in the background?
No, see, this is another technical challenge, right? So Carves is clearly having an iPhone conversation with someone else at the same time that I'm on the Mac, and somehow he's logged on. So it's...
Oh, does it come through your Mac every time he gets a text message?
Yeah, there must be iMessages. It's blooming annoying.
It is. If only there was a mute function on your.
Well, this is the thing. I'm trying to find it.
No worries.
You've got me there, haven't you?
All right, come on. Let's go on to news.
Yep, fantastic.
Because there is a little bit of interesting news to do with power meters this week. News sponsored by triathlonbox.co.uk. If you're looking for a really cool solution to carry your triathlon goodness to the race and balance it on your top tube, go and check them out. Really cool product, but not as cool as the product I have just seen here, Helen.
Go on.
Right, so on slowtwitch.com, there's an article about motorized doping.
Yes,
so
now I did hear about this.
Right? We've heard it rumoured. There's a race in Belgium. Let's see if I can get the under 23 women's race at the World Cyclocross World Championships. Okay.
Yep.
Someone's pulled to one side and the bike gets analysed somehow by the UCI officials with some kind of scanner doofer, right? And then they grab a bike and say, we're having this, and take it away.
Yep.
And no one really knows what's going on. And then Slow Twitch posted a follow-up picture. This bike has allegedly got inside it like a motor in the down tube connected to the bottom bracket.
Oh my goodness.
So imagine a cylinder about, I'm going to say about 8 inches tall.
Okay.
This looks like a big bike battery, and it connects into the bottom bracket of the bike inside the tube of the bike and allows you to put out 200 extra watts for 90 minutes.
Okay,
this is a commercially available thing. So it's aimed at people who ride the bike and are getting older and, need a bit of extra help getting up hills and stuff.
Rather than not for under 23 racers in professional, UCI races who are trying to cheat the system.
Yeah, but imagine that. Imagine putting out 200 extra watts and it's got a 90-minute battery life.
Yeah.
How are they going to test for this at all the Ironmans around the world?
Oh, goodness.
They're not expensive. I think they were like €1,000 or something. So in the big scheme of things, they're the same price as, a front wheel?
Yeah, totally.
For someone who's really... It's going to be a whole minefield when we get into this, isn't it?
Well, essentially they would have to check every single bike, wouldn't they?
It weighs like 1.5 kilos, so it's pretty heavy, but it's not...
But it balances out between the...
Well, if you think about it, if I'm putting out 300 watts at threshold, so I'm probably going to ride my Ironman bike leg at 200 watts. And so if it gives you an extra 200 watts, that's doubling your Ironman power for the chunks you're going uphill. It's going to be a massive advantage to people, isn't it?
That is crazy. Well, apparently for this race, the UCI had
I'm
introduced.
getting one.
Are you going to get one?
Triathlon X.
You'll be like flying up the hills, and everyone will be like, "What the
Even
heck's
with
he
an
on?"
extra 200
Oh,
watts,
mechanical
I just
doping.
won't be falling over.
Oh,
It's called Vivax Assist, right? Vivax-assist.com. It's 2,700 euros. I got the price wrong, but still,
well,
it's a lot of money.
But so before the race in Zolder, the UCI had introduced a new method to detect motors. So clearly there'd been rumours of it going on for quite a while. But it's pretty worrying, isn't it?
It makes you wonder, right? Because if this is now commercially available to people in the street,
Exactly.
You wonder whether it's been available on the back street.
Yep, for quite a while.
As it were. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now, Rob, last week we mentioned about Ironman taking over Lagardère, which runs some of the ITU events, and we did put it out there on Twitter actually. So we got a few comments back. And Scouse Timms told us, well, one thing for sure, it'll mean more expensive entry fees, so backers get back the money that they invested. Graham McKenzie said it's interesting that Ironman will now own and run the ITU event in Leeds. And Oliver Saxon got in touch at Oliver Saxon and said, I think it's more about their media presence than anything. Let's hope the ITU commentary doesn't go the way of Kona. # ads.
I wonder what he means by that. I wonder what he means by the ITU media presence. Does he mean that they do a good job of promoting their own sport and Ironman will benefit from that? Or does he mean there's lots of TV packages already bought into this and they'll somehow manage to get Ironman on TV?
That is a good question. Oliver, do you want to get back in touch with us and let us know?
Yeah, I did read an interview with the CEO of Ironman, what's his name, Andrew Messick, where he basically said that it's more about our media presence. But what they actually said was it didn't make any sense in retrospect to what he said. He basically said they're looking to expand Ironman into China, essentially.
Yep.
Which explains why there's an enormous Chinese firm has bought Ironman, but it doesn't explain
why they've gone for Lagardère, which is kind of more European, I would suggest. We've already mentioned it has like Gold Coast and other events, but the majority.
Well, maybe they're looking to expand the UCI ITU stuff into China as well, and they've got a big. There was some comment like there's something like 400 athletes in China or something like this. 400 Ironman athletes in China at the moment from a country of God knows how many billion. So it's obviously a massive growth market for them.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe they're looking at trying to sell that to the aspiring middle classes in China.
Yeah, I reckon there is a lot to do with expanding into that Chinese market. I mean, you look at sort of
football. For me, it's more of a business decision.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at football as well,
Ironman,
and
isn't it?
It's at football. They're all the big clubs in Europe are trying to expand into China as well, aren't they? It's massive. So yeah, I think that would be the point. Another news piece that we should bring you this week is, Rob, did you see? I don't know if you saw over the weekend, but Susie Chan, who is 40 years old, has set a new 12-hour treadmill world record. So she did it on Saturday. And do you know how far she ran in 12 hours?
Go on.
She did 68.54 miles.
Wow.
And so she broke the record. The previous record for the same time period of 12 hours was 66.79 miles. So she smashed it by, nearly 2 miles there. Absolutely incredible. And there's photos of her just smiling and smiling.
Do you fancy a crack at that?
Well, I did an hour and a half the other week on the treadmill.
And that was enough?
Well, yeah, I was ready to sort of tear my hair out. But I think
it's 4-hour marathon pace, isn't it?
I think if you were to get into it, am I allowed to say I wouldn't? Yeah, I wouldn't say no. Am I allowed to say that?
Hells, you've got the physiology for it. You could run 3-4 hour marathons back to back.
I'm not
if you did some training for it.
I'm not saying I would get the
Let's take it 1 hour at a time, shall we?
Exactly. I
See if we
think
do 2 hours on the treadmill first.
yeah, maybe. I
Well
would,
done, though, Susie. That's awesome.
isn't it? Absolutely incredible. And
And I think we're going to have to wrap up the show, Hells. We've been rabbiting on for like the best part of an hour.
oh goodness, sorry.
We're running out of time, mate.
That's fine. That's fine. Well,
Yeah.
we will wrap up, and we will be back, Rob. Can I give you a quick recipe?
Yeah, give us a quick recipe before we go. Go on.
Quick
That'd be awesome.
recipe. Okay, so for the first time, I made pancakes this week. You often hear people talking about making pancakes really easy. My goodness, they are, right? So protein pancakes, 2 eggs, 1 banana, and about a scoop of whey protein. Mine was chocolate flavored, but any kind of whey protein. Blitz it in a whizzer, and then just cook your pancakes and serve it with a bit of fruit, some Greek yogurt. It is honestly absolutely delicious. So 2 eggs.
Is that all you need?
Yeah, 2 eggs,
2 eggs.
banana, and some whey protein.
And you just
Whiz
drop
it
it in a
up.
pan and...
Yeah, drop it in a pan. Cook
That
it in.
sounds yum.
I cooked it in coconut oil.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell, so that's my kind of cooking right there. You've got me. You had me at hello. You got me with the cooking involving 2 eggs and a banana.
That was it. Really.
Delicious.
So I'll put that one up on our Twitter feed.
Ah, that sounds great. Well done. So we've run out of time for this week. Next week, I am going to be away. I'm not going to be able to record a show for next week, so I'm on the old training camp in Fuerteventura. So we will have something up for you to listen to. And that's pretty much brings us to the end of the show. Thanks very much for listening. If you want to support us, you can go over to the website, which is auctionaddict.com/podcast. Click to sign up to be a patron of the show and support us that way. That'd be cool. Or support one of the sponsors of the show and buy some stuff from them. It's all feeding back into the great triathlon community. But it's been great having a good chat, Hells.
Thank you very much. It's been good fun.
And I'll be back in 2 weeks' time. And until then, I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And you've been listening to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. Safe training and racing week, everybody.